Welcome back to Red Hood and the Outlaws right here at Comicstorian. My name is Benny, and we like to take your favorite storylines and turn them into audio narratives where I pretend that I can voice act and we bring it to you as if we're a poor man's Audible. Red Hood and the Outlaws came out in the New 52, and it was a weird time for the fan favorite character Red Hood. He teamed up with Arsenal and he teamed up with Starfire to basically create a new version of the Outlaws. This takes place before Rebirth, but after Jason basically came back as a hero. This is part 2 of the first volume, in which Jason is taking his new team and looking to get revenge for the Allcast. After Red Hood and the Outlaws defeated the zombies, we cut to a different location, at the Chamber of All, where the youthful-looking boy, Saru the Proctor, sits on his throne. He looks up at Jason, stating, "Hey, didn't see you." And Jason asks, did we come at a bad time? No, that would mean that no one, no sentient being or single omnivore could have gotten in. Jason asks, "You do realize that we wouldn't have gotten this far if..." And Saru asks, if the Allcast hadn't been slain by the same untitled that walked past me half an hour before you got here? Duh. What now, though? You want to run off after the untitled, exact some cosmic vengeance? Jason tells him, "This isn't about revenge, not yet at least. I was trained by the Allcast, which means that it falls on me to find that thing, the untitled." Saru tells him that that's fine. They can enter the chamber. But before that, he is responsible for holding onto their most cherished memories as collateral. They can have them back, if they return. Roy tells Saru that he'd better not get comfortable having those. They will have them back. Saru points them off in the direction they should be going, telling them, "I'm certain that you will." Soon, the three of them step through the door and find themselves in a twisted room with doors and stairs leading, well, everywhere. Jason tells them to take a moment and let it sink in. The Chamber of All can be a little overwhelming at first. Also, stick close. Starfire asks where they're going, and Jason tells her that he doesn't have a clue. And Roy says, "Great, not at all reassuring." Outside, Saru holds the floating memories, stating that he shouldn't do this. It is against the protocols, but those three are rather curious. Let's have a look at the aliens. There are no rules against watching alien memories, just a peek. Starfire's memory orb opens up, and Saru sees the young Starfire when she was a princess, being traded into slavery. How could this be a cherished memory? He continues to watch as the young princess falls in the mud, and a soldier tells her to rise as he kneels down. The soldier brushes her hair from her face, stating that he was her age once. She should be running free. He's sorry on behalf of his people. Starfire told him that she thanks him for his kindness, but if she could get a petition for a boon. The soldier tells her that if it is within his power, of course. Starfire jumps up, blasting into the soldier, shouting that she may be trapped here, but she will not suffer compassion beneath the boot of a spineless worm. The memory fades and Saru leans back. That was disturbing. If that is her most cherished memory, just how screwed up is this trio? Later, down below, Jason leads Roy and Starfire into a large open chamber, and Roy asks if the shiny thing on that creepy altar is the thing they're looking for, because they should probably hurry back. The dude looking into their memories makes him feel a little unclean. As Jason and Roy begin to walk, Starfire shouts for them to stop moving. "This is a setup." Roy laughs. "Oh, it's adorable that she's concerned." At that moment, spikes shoot out of the ground, and Jason tells Starfire to fly up and tell them what they're dealing with. As Starfire looks at the giant monster whose spikes are spanning across its head, Jason sees the monster's face, telling her, never mind, I got it. I know exactly what we're fighting, Starfire." He grabs onto the monster's ear and shouts that they need to hurry up and focus on taking on this big green ugly thing. He opens fire into the monster's ear canal, and as it screams and shakes him off, Jason says that it's probably a good thing that he doesn't understand the language because he's sure that he'd be blushing. A giant tongue whips out, grabbing onto Starfire, but as it pulls back, Roy asks, "Is that thing eating her, Jason?" Back at the entrance, Saru lies on the floor holding Roy's memory, stating, "All right, I already broke one rule. Amuse me, Roy Harper." A vision of Roy fighting Crux appears, where Roy is clearly losing the battle. Roy gets up, swinging, asking, "Is that all you got?" And Crux shouts, "That is enough. Why won't you stay down?" Roy wobbles, asking, "Are you kidding? I'm Roy Harper. It doesn't get any downer than me." Crux gets ready to attack, but he stops when he states, "It all makes sense now. You're trying to get me to put an end to your miserable life. Death by Crux. How about instead you pull your head out of your butt and figure out how to get on with your life? Everyone knows that you got rolled by Oliver Queen, lost all your shares in Q-Corps.
Is this really how you want it to end? Beaten to death on a rooftop in Hell's Kitchen? You want to kill yourself? Do it yourself and leave others out of it.
Roy stops. For a monster, you're not such a bad guy, Croc. After picking Roy up, Croc says,
You won't think that the next time we meet.
The memory fades and Saru says that was almost sweet. In a pathetic kind of way, though. Down below, Jason climbs onto the altar and Roy asks, Aren't we going to, work on freeing Starfire from the big green ugly? Jason reaches out to grab the object on the altar and he finds a snow globe of Colorado. That's supposed to be their big clue? And just then, the monster starts to move in a confused state. Roy swings around the monster's neck, asking, What's that smell? And a second later, Starfire explodes out of the monster's chest and she says that those were unacceptable accommodations for a princess. Let us get away from this place. As Starfire rescues both Jason and Roy, Roy says that this isn't too emasculating, is it? And Jason tells him, What's really emasculating is getting killed. Get over it, Roy. As the group returns to the top, Saru looks surprised, stating, Wait, you actually made it? Jason holds up the snow globe, asking if there's any significance to this thing. Why would the Untitled leave this behind? Saru tells him, No, you can have your memories back now. As Saru hands Starfire and Roy their memories, Jason walks past and Saru asks what about him. Jason doesn't look back and tells him to keep it. Once the trio leaves, Saru sits down and takes a look into Jason's memory. The vision forms, and Alfred tells Batman that Master Jason is sick with the flu. It wouldn't be at all prudent to allow him out on patrol. Batman says that Jason is smart enough to know when enough is enough, and Jason coughs weakly. Yeah, that's it. But upon thinking it over, Batman tells Jason,
Stay in until you get better.
Jason sighs, telling him, Yes, sir. Upstairs, Jason sits down and Alfred brings him some tea, stating that they should really see what's on the telly. Jason yells that he isn't a baby, he can take care of himself. And then Batman walks in telling him,
Taking a night off once in a while isn't a crime. What are we watching?
After Batman sits down with Jason, Jason leans over on his adopted father, falling asleep. Meanwhile, somewhere in Middleton, Colorado, Jason and Roy sit at a bar where Roy points out that he probably shouldn't be here, being that he's a recovering alcoholic and all. Jason sips his drink while a large group of gruff men tell Jason that he may not have heard, but he's sitting on the stool talking to his lady. As one of the men reaches out, Jason spins around, kneeing him in the groin, punching another in the throat, smashing a glass on the third's face. The bartender tells Roy that his friend here is cut off for the night, and Roy says, That's what I've been telling you! You need to open up more, Jason, vent! Otherwise, things like this happen. Jason leaves money for the bartender, telling her that he apologizes for the mess and they'll be on their way. As they leave, a sheriff stops him, stating that she would like to have a word with them downtown. So the two follow the sheriff, with Starfire watching from the sky, stating that if she is with them, there will be more questions from the locals than letting two humans investigate. It is such a wonder why a princess like herself is so captivated by these two court gestures. But suddenly, something cuts into her back, and a scaly hand grabs her by the throat, throwing her to the ice below. Starfire pulls herself out, shouting obscenities in her native language, when a giant green bat-like creature lands before her. The creature yells for her to get up. He didn't spend his parents' fortune tracking her down just so she could die before he even gets his talons into her. She tells him that despite his cowardice by his ambush, she is honor-bound to introduce herself. She is Princess Coriander from the planet Tamarin. He should speak his name whilst he has a tongue left in his head. The creature shouts out that he took the name Crux because he is a human who is willing to draw the line between them and the invading horde of... But Starfire lunges at Crux, stating, "You're just another xenophobe. Not too many of your kind left." Over at the sheriff's station, the sheriff leans against the wall, stating that he will never get away with this. And Jason takes her cuffs, stating that she'd be surprised. All he needs to do is go through her files for any red flags that will lead him to the Untitled. The sheriff asks if that's an indie rock band or something, and Jason sits down, telling her that they are a very ancient and evil mystical race, maybe a dozen left on the planet, who have been hiding among humans for centuries. The sheriff asks why would he think they came here, and Jason tells her, not they, just one. They never travel in groups. They usually hide in positions of authority to make it easier to cover things up, like maybe town mayor or a local doctor. And then he stops, realizing his statement. Or they could also be a cop. With her arm inside of Jason's back, the sheriff says that he is one of Dukra's pets. It's to his credit that she didn't smell him back at the bar. The few remaining of their members have been hiding for the past 100 years. Why would the All-Cast break their truce with them? Jason begins stating, "It wasn't the All-Cast. You broke it." Just then, the sound of whistling arrows shoot by as several arrows find their way into the back of the sheriff's head. The sheriff turns around, shouting, "Idiot! Steel-tipped arrows are a petty annoyance! Only copper can harm me." Roy laughs, telling her, "Ha! Jason mentioned something like that." Another arrow is fired, but it's much larger than the other ones, with a large copper tip that shreds through the sheriff's head. Back at the lake, Crux slams Starfire into the ground, holding her underwater, asking does she know why he's doing this, why he must purge the earth of aliens. It all started long ago when he and his parents were on their way from their family outing. His parents were scientists at a university, so they didn't get to be home a lot. As they drove, a Tamarani and a war cruiser crash-landed on top of them. It seemed like a freak accident, but one of her kind just got out and left, unharmed. My parents, though, they died. I took up their legacy, and with their knowledge, I was able to become what I am now, a tool to dispose of the alien kind from our planet. Starfire grabs Crux by the neck, telling him, "You used your intellect to fashion yourself into a living weapon? Got it. I'm so sorry that your family died. I'm so sorry that you tossed your life away on something as pointless as revenge. But I will not suffer for the crimes of others." As Starfire throws Crux into the lake, he begins to swim away, and Starfire asks, "Really? Retreating already?" While she begins to give chase back at the station, the sheriff says that they are toying with dangerous forces here. "I have lived among the humans in this town for nearly 2 decades without incident." And Jason yells, "I only tracked you down because you're the one who lashed out at the Allcast." With the sheriff's head stitching itself back together, Roy asks, "What do we do now?" And Jason says, "We should just leave." Back with Starfire, she chases down Crux, asking why would Crux attempt to fight her with physical strength? He knows that he can't possibly win, augmented or otherwise. But then she sees it, and it's too late. A Tamaranian transubstantiator. Crux is using her own racist technology against her. She has to get away before, but at that moment, she is hit with a bolt of lightning falling to the ground in a fiery blaze. Nearby, Jason and Roy see the flash of light, with Roy yelling that that's Starfire's energy signal. One of the Untitled must have gotten to her. Jason says, "I would love to help, but I can't leave right now." Roy gets up, telling him, "Then I'll go check it out. See you in hell?" And Jason tells him, "Unless there's any other place hotter." As Roy runs off, Jason peeks around the corner for the Untitled, but he tells himself that guns aren't going to help this. The only thing that could stop the Untitled is the All Blades. So he pulls out 2 mystical blades from his boots, and the Untitled hangs from a lamppost, telling him that this is all on him. "Know that after I kill you, everyone else in this town that protected my cover will be moving on. This is all because you wouldn't leave me alone." Jason tells her, "I suppose I could learn to live with the guilt, but I'm betting I'm gonna be okay." Back over at the lake, Crux flies up into the air to make his way to Starfire with a grappling hook arrow shooting out, hitting him in the leg. Crux asks, "Seriously? Arrows? Who would?" But before he could finish, lightning courses through his body and he comes crashing to the ground. Roy steps down on Crux's head, stating, "I would be the one who still uses arrows. The name's Arsenal. If it makes you feel any better about getting your ass kicked by a guy with a bow and a baseball cap." Crux struggles, stating, "Going to kill you." And Roy tells him, "Nah, I'm gonna help my friend while the big bad monster stays down. Anyway, BRB." Roy stabs an arrow into Crux to keep him in place as he asks, "Why? We're humans. We're supposed to be on the same side." Back with Jason, he and the Untitled begin to fight, with the Untitled yelling, "You should not have come here. Dukra should not have dispatched you to instigate on her behalf." Jason tells her not to insult Dukra's memory. "You slaughtered Dukra and the rest of the Allcast." As Jason cuts into her, the Untitled says, "I did no such thing. The Allcast was the only institution in place that kept my siblings from an all-out war." Jason asks if it's possible that they have been, and the Untitled stops. "Tricked? It would seem so. You're just a tool here, a particularly blunt one at that." Jason then asks why him though, and the Untitled asks, "Did Dukra not tell you everything about the Untitled? Maybe she didn't trust you as much as you think she does." Back over at the lake, Roy hurries over to find Starfire curled up in the snow. When he gets there, he slams a thermal arrow down to give some heat, and Starfire tells him thank you. He brushes it off, telling her, "Shh, you'll ruin my reputation. I'm supposed to be the idiot, so don't worry. We all found each other and we're gonna be fine." Starfire smiles, and as she looks up, her eyes widen, and Roy asks, "He's right behind us, isn't he?" Crux pulls Roy off the ground, yelling, "I can't believe a human would side with her. If you want to live with this alien dog, then you could die like one." Back in the town, the Untitled sees Jason hiding in the fountain when she notices that it is just his helmet. She asks that all that's left of the mighty Allcast. Is he their final legacy? Pathetic. She should have eaten his heart. Jason jumps out of the fountain from the back, stating that she will have her chance. Jason then uses the All Blades to cut into himself to draw out the full power, telling himself that Duker was right. The Joker, the one who killed him, Batman, the one who let the Joker get away with it, none of that matters right now. He's no longer an angry little pup. He is a warrior of the Allcast, determined to end the reign of terror that dates back to the dawn of man. Over at the lake, Roy begins to laugh with Crux asking, "What is it? You don't have your bow. What can you even do?" Roy unhooks the strap on his quiver, falling to the ground, and Starfire says that this is going to be a little loud. A second later, the quiver explodes, knocking Crux over, sending all three of them into the icy lake. Back with Jason, the Untitled says that it wasn't her as Jason stabs the All Blade into her chest, telling her, "I don't care!" He wipes his face off, telling himself, "That's not completely true. There's still a question of who sent me, and seriously, you turn back into a human after dying?" A few moments later, now that he has killed the sheriff, the townspeople gather around asking what did he do. They all quickly decide to get Red Hood. Back over at the lake, Starfire flies out holding both Roy and Crux, and as they land, Starfire gets ready to kill Crux. She says that they will see if everything he has done to his body in the name of misguided vengeance will protect him from the living flame of a star. And Roy asks, isn't that a bit overkill? Starfire stops. Is it? Just then, Jason runs by yelling that he doesn't know what they're doing, and he isn't even going to ask, but we have got to get the hell out of here. Starfire asks, wouldn't it be easier to explain what's going on? And Jason shouts, less babbling, more getting the hell out of here. And so, Starfire picks up Crux. The three escape the angry mob. And that concludes the next chapter of our Red Hood and the Outlaws Sunday coverage right here at Comicstorian. If you like the Red Hood, you like this team right here, then make sure you subscribe to our channel because every Sunday you're going to get another chapter of Red Hood, Arsenal, and Starfire. They're going to go up into space. He's going to run into Batman. He's going to battle the Joker. All this stuff happened in this series, and if you want to be a part of it, consider subscribing to our channel. Otherwise, don't forget to give this video a like to tell me, hey, I want more Red Hood. And if you're wondering what happened to Wolverine, the majority of you said just do all of Red Hood, then do all of Wolverine. So we're doing all of Red Hood, it looks like. Thank you so much for your support, and we'll see you guys next week right here at Comicstorian.